welcome back. I hope you're having a wonderful week so far. We've been having the most unreal weather in London for like the last 2 weeks. It might be the longest stint of sunshine in living memory. And then today, the grey skies appear and it's a little bit chilly. Honestly, I feel like every British person, you have like 2 weeks of sun and then you're convinced that that means our luck has finally changed and we're in for like 3 months of beautiful blue skies and warm sunshine. Alas, reality has hit and we're back into the grey. But anyway, otherwise, I've had a really great week so far. It's been super busy. I've been talking to loads of you, which is always a part of my job that I love. And I'm in the run up to another intake of my program at the moment. And during these little stints, I always find that my brain is like bursting with ideas and things that I want to talk about. And it's mainly coming from conversations with you guys around things that you struggle with or kind of dieting attempts in the past and why they've been difficult for you. And this is one that I feel deserves its own episode, frankly. So if you've ever started a fat loss phase and been kind of full of motivation, locked in, ready to go, really like clear-headed about what your goals are and how you're going to get there. And then a few weeks in, you're starting to find it really difficult, really tough. Maybe your hunger's really high, you're feeling super fatigued, and you're kind of getting to that burnout point where you're like, fuck it, I can't do this anymore. So you kind of crash and burn. Or you've stuck to that diet, you've lost the weight that you had in your mind as your ideal kind of weight loss goal, but actually haven't been super happy with the results that you've got at the end of it, then this video is for you. So today I'm going to run through the first pillars of the Recomp Blueprint. And honestly, it's like 99% of the time people skip this. But in my view, it's the one that actually sets you up for success. I call this baselining and road mapping. So in the first 1 to 2 weeks, we go through a process of baselining. And what that essentially is an audit of what you're doing right now. So what does nutrition look like for you in terms of structure, in terms of timings, and in terms of those habits in general? Like, are you someone who is a bit of a snacker or a grazer and doesn't necessarily have those sit down regular meal timings? Are you someone who's getting like 50 grams of protein a day at the moment? Are you someone who's got an aversion to fruit and vegetables? All of these things could potentially make just dropping you into a deficit 10 times harder than it needs to be. So by auditing what's currently happening, we're able to lay that groundwork and build that foundation around some of those nutrition non-negotiables. I really think before jumping into a diet phase, we need to have a clear picture of where you're starting from. So we want to look at your eating patterns, your sleep schedule, what's happening to your scale weight over time by kind of tracking everything but changing nothing in the first instance, your food choices, your schedule and like daily stresses, what's happening with work, childcare, all of that sort of stuff. And also like your movement. What does that look like right now? Do you train 3 times a week, but generally are pretty sedentary outside of that? How much free time do you have in your daily life to kind of make changes to all of the above that we've just covered, right? So just telling yourself, okay, I'm going to stick to a deficit and it's this number without having any of that clarity around those basic fundamentals is kind of like trying to follow a map without knowing like where you are right now. So again, something that I think people get wrong is thinking that fat loss is just about eating less. But really, it's much more about doing the right things consistently in order to see fat loss. And most people don't or can't stick to a deficit, not because they're lazy or unmotivated or unwilling, but because they don't have that foundation. So you can imagine, let's take person A, works a stressful desk job, is often sat at their desk for 12 hours a day, has 2 young kids at home, predominantly eats convenience type foods, so not a lot of home cooking due to that lack of time and lack of capacity, and doesn't do any strength training at the moment, versus person B, who maybe trains 2 to 3 times a week, has a job where they're on their feet all day, and already has a pretty well-balanced nutritional approach, high protein, high fiber, regular meal timings. So you can imagine if I gave both of these people a number of calories to stick to, person B is going to find this a shit ton easier than person A. So starting with that baselining approach really helps us to get that clear picture of your starting point and what things need to change habit-wise, behavior-wise, for that deficit that we're going to come to be effective and almost easy. So we use this time to introduce some structure and to fine-tune those behaviors that improve adherence. And during this phase, we'll just assess what's happening to the scale weight without really changing anything calorie-wise. And oftentimes you find that just by introducing these little structures, these little behavioral changes will lead to things like better sleep, better digestion, less bloating, and sometimes fat loss without that formal deficit. So once we have our data from our baselining week, then we can build your roadmap. That means establishing your maintenance calories. So assuming your weight stayed roughly the same during baselining, we know that's maintenance for us, or what that maintenance range might look like. We can set realistic, personalized targets for fat loss, and then mapping out how long you're going to be in a deficit, when to take diet breaks. And this can be really helpful, particularly in the lead up to summer when we have more social events, more holidays. So introducing diet breaks where they make sense. And then crucially, how and when we'll return to maintenance after that period of dieting. No more guessing, no more random sporadic dieting, just a clear, structured path built around you, your goals, your lifestyle. So hopefully it's clear why this is helpful and, in my opinion, essential when you're thinking about a successful diet. Now, here's why I think this is the missing link for most people. So most women that I work with have dieted for years, or at least they feel like they've dieted for years, and still don't have the results that they want, right? Or else we wouldn't be working together if they were completely happy with their physique. Now, this obviously isn't because they haven't tried, but it's because they've probably jumped into dieting as the first port of call when they sense that unhappiness in their body or in their physique. And instead, they've never taken the time to actually learn about their body, understand what their body wants and needs. And more often than not, have no timeline around any of this stuff. It's just, I've put on a few kilos, so I'll start a diet tomorrow and I'll just follow that diet for an undisclosed amount of time. Like, you can kind of see how that doesn't really set yourself up for it to be effective. And you can also see how adherence might slip with that. If you know you have an end goal, an end date in mind, it is so much easier to push through those days where shit feels really hard. So baselining and road mapping bridges that gap. And it's what makes the rest of the recomp blueprint work so well. Without it, you're kind of just guessing. And when it comes to changing your body composition long term, that gets you nowhere. So if you're tired of spinning your wheels and you want to do fat loss the right way, this is where we start. The next intake begins on the 26th of May. Drop a comment or message me Blueprint, and I'll send you more info on how you can join us. Make sure to like and subscribe. And next week, I'll be taking you through exactly how to train to support your best body composition. See you next time. Love you. Bye.